I'm going to milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm going to go, slave owner. Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? Do you think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing.
Sunny Hostin found herself at the center of a tense, live television moment. And this time, there were no easy explanations to soften the reaction.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue I think for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry.
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm but at least I tip.
According to the narrative surrounding the exchange, Greg Gutfeld responded with a series of pointed remarks that supporters argued exposed major inconsistencies in her arguments. The tension escalated quickly, and the atmosphere inside the studio changed almost instantly. What began as another spirited television debate soon became one of the most talked about moments of the broadcast. The dramatic exchange captured the audience's attention from the very beginning. Reactions spread rapidly across television and social media as viewers debated what had just unfolded. The confrontation became far more than an ordinary disagreement between television personalities. It evolved into a highly emotional spectacle that reportedly left the studio audience watching in stunned silence, with many struggling to believe how quickly the conversation had escalated. According to the narrative, the most surprising developments came after the segment itself. Reports and online discussions claimed that Sunny Hostin's reaction went well beyond the passionate exchanges viewers had come to expect from The View.
Make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick. But unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. You make me sick. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named ugly.
Critics argued that Greg Gutfeld needed only a few minutes to challenge several long-standing talking points, creating a confrontation that was replayed, analyzed, and debated almost immediately after the episode aired. Whether viewed as a decisive moment or simply another heated television clash, the exchange quickly became a major topic of conversation across political and entertainment media alike. As the discussion continued, the program opened in a familiar fashion. The panel launched into another energetic conversation filled with enthusiastic applause, spirited commentary, and confident opinions about current political issues. According to critics of the show, the atmosphere often resembles a passionate debate where the hosts present themselves as defenders of their preferred viewpoints while strongly challenging opposing perspectives. That familiar format set the stage for another lively exchange before the tone unexpectedly shifted.
Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteousness.
Sunny Hostin, serving in her role as the panel's legal analyst, delivered arguments with confidence and conviction. Supporters viewed her as a strong advocate for her positions, while critics argued that her commentary often relied more on forceful delivery than careful engagement with opposing viewpoints. According to those critics, discussions frequently became centered on assigning blame, with disagreements quickly escalating whenever conflicting opinions entered the conversation. Some commentators have compared The View to the fast-moving exchanges commonly found across social media, where political debates can become increasingly emotional in a matter of moments.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Within that environment, Hostin has developed a reputation as one of the panel's most outspoken voices. Admirers describe her as principled and direct, while detractors argue that she too often frames disagreements as larger threats rather than opportunities for debate. That contrast has made her one of the show's most discussed personalities. The atmosphere changed noticeably once Greg Gutfeld entered the conversation. Known for a direct, sarcastic style that frequently challenges conventional political narratives, Gutfeld approached the discussion differently from many television commentators. Rather than relying on polished diplomacy, he delivered pointed observations that immediately shifted the tone of the exchange. According to many viewers, that unexpected change in style marked the beginning of one of the broadcast's most memorable and intensely debated moments.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there.
According to the narrative presented by critics, the exchange shifted dramatically once Greg Gutfeld began highlighting what he described as inconsistencies in Sunny Hostin's past public statements. They argued that he contrasted her repeated calls for civil discourse with earlier comments that strongly criticized political opponents. Supporters of Gutfeld claimed this comparison exposed a double standard, suggesting that calls for unity were often applied differently depending on who was being criticized. That argument quickly became the focal point of the discussion. Gutfeld continued by referencing previous interviews and public remarks, presenting them as evidence that Hostin's positions had changed depending on the political context. Critics pointed to debates surrounding immigration policy, arguing that similar government actions were described very differently depending on which administration was responsible.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see, Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news.
According to those commentators, The issue was not a single statement, but what they viewed as a recurring pattern of selective outrage that appeared throughout multiple public discussions. The broader criticism centered on consistency. Detractors argued that Hostin responded forcefully whenever conservative figures made controversial remarks, while showing greater leniency toward similar actions by political leaders she supported. Supporters of Hostin rejected that interpretation, maintaining that the situations being compared involved important differences and deserved separate analysis. As the debate intensified, both sides became increasingly convinced that the facts supported their own position. Audience reactions reflected the sharp political divide surrounding the exchange. According to the narrative, many viewers immediately sided with their preferred commentator regardless of the specific arguments being presented. As emotions rose, Hostin's response became another topic of discussion, with critics characterizing it as an attempt to shift attention toward the broader emotional impact of the criticism, rather than the individual claims themselves. Supporters, however, viewed her reaction as a sincere response to what they believed was an unfair personal attack. By the end of the segment, the conversation had expanded well beyond the original topic, becoming another example of how modern political television often evolves into a debate over both facts and emotions simultaneously. According to critics of Sunny Hostin, one of the most striking aspects of the exchange was her emotional reaction after years of delivering pointed criticism toward political opponents from her seat on ABC. They argued that once attention shifted toward examining her own past statements, the discussion became noticeably more personal. Those commentators claimed the contrast between confidently criticizing others and responding emotionally to similar scrutiny became one of the defining moments of the broadcast.
More time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in again.
As the tension increased, the remaining panelists attempted to support their colleague. Critics characterized those efforts as an attempt to shield Hostin from difficult questions, rather than directly addressing the substance of the criticisms. Others disagreed, arguing that the hosts were simply trying to de-escalate an increasingly heated exchange. According to the narrative, even comments from Whoopi Goldberg became part of the broader debate, with supporters and critics offering sharply different interpretations of her response. Reports also described concern behind the scenes as producers monitored the rapidly escalating conversation. While emotional television moments are not uncommon on live programs, commentators noted that the intensity of this exchange appeared to catch many people by surprise. The discussion quickly expanded beyond the studio as viewers began reacting across multiple online platforms. Social media responded almost immediately. Memes, video clips, and commentary spread rapidly as supporters of Greg Gutfeld praised what they viewed as a decisive fact-based challenge, while Hostin's supporters defended her reaction and criticized the tone of the confrontation. Posts highlighting alleged contradictions, humorous captions, and edited clips circulated widely, making the exchange one of the day's most discussed political television moments. Regardless of which side viewers supported, the confrontation demonstrated how quickly a heated on-air debate can dominate online conversation and generate widespread public attention long after the cameras stop rolling.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, what I would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
According to supporters of Greg Gutfeld, his direct and sarcastic analysis resonated with viewers who had grown tired of hearing familiar political arguments repeated across daytime television. They argued that the exchange reinforced a criticism frequently directed at The View, that the program functions less as an open debate and more as a discussion where opposing viewpoints rarely receive equal treatment. From that perspective, anyone who forcefully challenges the prevailing consensus quickly becomes the center of the controversy rather than the issues being discussed. Critics of the show also claimed the conversation rapidly shifted away from the original points of disagreement. Instead of continuing to debate the alleged contradictions that had been raised, they argued the focus moved toward broader themes such as defending women, confronting bullying, and questioning the tone of the criticism itself. Supporters of The View, however, maintained that the discussion reflected concerns about respectful public discourse rather than an attempt to avoid difficult questions. The exchange renewed a long-running debate about the role of political talk shows. Detractors argued that The View often rewards agreement more than genuine disagreement, creating an environment where familiar perspectives receive reinforcement instead of rigorous examination. They contended that when commentators introduce sarcasm, factual challenges, or competing interpretations, the conversations can quickly become more emotional than analytical. As the discussion continued, Hostin addressed the situation by speaking about personal growth and vulnerability, while Gutfeld maintained the same measured and sarcastic style that has become his trademark. Supporters viewed his calm approach as strengthening his arguments, while critics believed it oversimplified a more complex discussion. Regardless of perspective, the confrontation became another widely shared television moment that continued generating debate long after the broadcast ended.
Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
For many observers, it illustrated the growing divide over whether modern political commentary prioritizes persuasion, performance, or genuine public debate. According to critics, the exchange has continued to follow Sunny Hostin long after the broadcast ended, becoming a frequent subject of online jokes, memes, and political commentary. They argue the moment illustrates what can happen when strong emotional appeals are confronted by equally forceful demands for consistency and accountability. Whether that interpretation is fair remains a matter of debate, but the incident undeniably became one of the most widely discussed television moments of its kind. Some commentators believe the controversy could have served as an opportunity for broader reflection. They argue that political talk shows benefit most when they encourage genuine disagreement rather than reinforcing familiar viewpoints. Critics of The View contend that the program often favors emotional narratives over rigorous debate, while supporters maintain that passionate discussions are an essential part of addressing important public issues. That disagreement continues to shape how audiences interpret exchanges like this one. Looking ahead, detractors expect the show's format to remain largely unchanged, with future discussions continuing to emphasize emotional perspectives and familiar themes. Supporters, however, believe the panel will continue providing commentary that resonates with its audience, regardless of outside criticism. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld is expected to continue using the same sarcastic style that has made him both popular with supporters and controversial among critics. Regardless of where viewers stand politically, many agree the confrontation became memorable because it reflected broader tensions in modern media. To critics, it demonstrated the risks of inconsistent messaging when previous statements can be revisited and compared instantly. To supporters, it highlighted the challenges of navigating increasingly polarized public conversations. In the end, the exchange became larger than a single television segment, evolving into another chapter in the ongoing debate about political commentary, accountability, media credibility, and the role televised discussions play in shaping public opinion. Whether remembered as a decisive moment or simply another heated clash, its impact continued well beyond the studio and remained a topic of discussion across television, social media, and political commentary long after the cameras stopped rolling.